I think that these states which have such an absence of human rights and political rights are in fact over the longer term and even over the short term contributing to the risk of instability in the region and really fueling in a sense extremism because they give their people no other valve for political expression, for expression of grievances. And I think that is certainly some of what you're seeing now in Libya and across the broader Arab world, is the sense that there is no way to protest the corruption and the economic conditions and the lack of political rights except through the streets.
And yet, say, for example, in Egypt, the money kept flowing for arms but was being reduced for democracy promotion. And I do wonder whether democracy is really thought to be such a great idea in Yemen or Bahrain, which is so significant in various aspects of America's strategic policy in the region.
Well, I think you have to take it one country at a time in a sense, but what you've seen now is the United States saying that across the region there needs to be political reform. And I do expect that whatever the outcome in these individual countries, you will see political reform become a much stronger part of the Obama administration's agenda in the Middle East.
Michael Singh, once again, thank you very much. I had a very interesting interview just a few moments ago. A man called Abdullah, a protester in the city of Benghazi, he said that Benghazi-based soldiers refused to open fire on the crowds, which led to a standoff with troops dispatched from Tripoli.
Well, right now, Benghazi is under the control of the Benghazi army. And we set free like 500 of the army, of the soldiers from Benghazi. They were arrested. And now we set them free.
So you arrested members of the Benghazi unit of the army?
Yeah, they were arrested.
Why did you set them free? Will they now cooperate with you?
No, because the army from Tripoli, they told them to open the fire on the protesters, and they said no. So they got arrested. But now we set them free.
Oh, I see. So the Benghazi army refused to accept orders from Tripoli. Who is?
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's just the army, the army from Benghazi. They didn't want to open the fire on the protesters because they are from the same city. So they didn't want to kill anyone. So the army from Tripoli, they killed, I don't know, I think it's like 150 of the army, Benghazi army. And the rest of them, they got arrested. So now we set them free.
All right, so the military units from Tripoli opened fire on the units from Benghazi because they refused orders.
Yeah, they opened the fire. As I told you, they killed like 150 from the soldiers of Benghazi because they didn't want to open the fire on the protesters. And the rest, they got arrested inside. So now, as I told you, we set them free.
When you say the Benghazi is now under the control of the military, then which military is in control of Benghazi?
The army of Benghazi.
Where are the units from Tripoli now?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Where are the units from Tripoli who opened fire on the Benghazi?
They all ran away, and the rest of them got killed.
What is happening now then? Is there peace in Benghazi?
Yeah, right now it's peace and it's under control.
How many? You said 150 of the army have been killed. What about civilians and others?
They're like 300 of the protesters. They got killed.
What do you want now? Did you hear Saif Gaddafi's speech? Are you satisfied with what you heard?
No. Because, you know, what he said, it doesn't mean anything.
So what is your demand?
Well, right now we want his father to leave the country because he ruled this country for like 42 years. And he's not doing anything to the country.
Will you be protesting again tomorrow? What do you do now that Benghazi is under your control, apparently?
Yeah, and because I heard that the protesters in Tripoli, they started in Tripoli right now. So that's why the Gaddafi son, he feels scared. So that's why he went live, and he was talking to, I don't know, to negotiate with us. But we don't want that.
An eyewitness in Benghazi, Professor William Zartman, is here for some analysis of what we heard there. How does that fit in then with our understanding of the Libyan military? Is it then compartmentalized into regional blocks, potentially?
Well, it seems to be. They say they have a Benghazi unit of the army in charge of Benghazi, and the rest of the army seems to be located in Tripoli and in other places around. That could be a clash, lead to a clash of the two armies. The next thing to check is what's going to happen to the units in Tripoli. Are they going to refuse to fire on the population as well? There are demonstrations, of course, going on in Tripoli. Or are we going to have the military split? Military split's probably more serious than just the division of the country into the various ethnic groups.
The demand from that protester, though, or that eyewitness at least, was Gaddafi must go.
Yeah.
Having heard the speech of his son, does that look likely anytime soon? It certainly suggested like they were digging in for an offensive counterattack.
Absolutely, yeah. It's hard to tell in these things. Suddenly, like Mubarak or like Ben Ali, he may change his mind and decide to go. But Gaddafi his feet aren't really very much on the ground anymore. And I think one could predict that he's going to dig in, if that doesn't mix the metaphor, and is going to hang on.
But what about the role then of these tribal leaders? Over the last few hours, we've heard from several tribal leaders suggesting they are now urging Gaddafi to go, or at least not crack down violently, at the very least. What influence might that have on the decision-making process?
It could have a big influence if there are enough of them in crucial places and of large enough tribes. I don't know how it adds up. Libya is, as Saif al-Islam said, without using the word tribes, that it's a tribal society, and so that's as important an element, almost as important element as the army.
Professor, thank you very much. It's just coming up to 1:30. You're watching Al Jazeera's continuing coverage of our top story. The son of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has warned that ongoing protests in the country could spark a civil war that would deplete Libya of its oil wealth. In a televised address to the nation, Saif al-Islam also said the General Popular Congress would meet on Monday to discuss reform. That followed reports of clashes between pro- and anti-government protesters in the capital, Tripoli. These pictures, though, from Benghazi, where, as we've heard in the last half an hour or so, an interesting situation is being reported where a unit of the Benghazi military may have refused to shoot on the protesters. We are still working to confirm some of this information, but certainly we've spoken to a number of protesters who say the military, as far as they're concerned, are not firing on them anymore. We now have on the phone Ahmed, who's been protesting in Benghazi.